Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of ChedTalks. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Tonight's guest is going to be someone that's going to blow you away. But before we get to that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Hookshot Media Productions. Tonight's show has been brought to you by Hookshot Media Productions, who brings us this great lighting and great setup with a good management crew in the back. Always here to bring you the best service you can have in terms of video production. Now, tonight's guest is someone that I'm very proud to have on tonight. Actually, I'm very excited in our new episodes, which is going to be trending towards our leadership category. We have several prominent and leader businessmen amongst our midst, and I'd like to acknowledge them, show their leadership, show their fatherhood, and overall show great examples of men within our community. Tonight's guest is Sunil Gordon, and he's the owner and operator of Sunny Boys Farm. Welcome, Sunny.
How you doing, sir? Thank you for having me here today.
Hey, how are you doing? Your volume is still a bit low. Let's see if we can bring it up a little bit.
All right. I'll see if I can yell at you guys if anything.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't hear you. Let's try this again. Hold on. Okay. Mute. Me. Okay. Yeah. Okay, sorry, we're having a bit of a technical issue here, but you're probably going to have to scream. You're going to have to talk really loud for us to hear, because for whatever reason you can't connect on the audio. Can we try it again? Let me hear you.
How are you doing today?
Okay, that's a little bit better. I'm not sure what the studio audience is hearing, but in the meantime, we'll just get going. So I'm really excited because I saw you on another podcast, of course, that was on the Healthy Entrepreneur. Yeah. And it always intrigued me what you do, the fact that you're doing something that's not being done in our community and where you stem from and all that. So I wanted to hear your entire story. I was so excited about that, and I wanted to really, hopefully, bring light to your energy, the stuff that the passion that you have for this this venture that you're taking on. So tell me a little bit about how you started, where you started from, how you came about.
I came here when I was about 5 years old from Jamaica, and mainstream of just coming here. The first thing I remember eating was actually a hamburger from McDonald's. And nothing was ever spoken about of how healthy eating, farming, anything like that. It was just hustle and bustle, let's go. And in 2018, I was fortunate to go through the adversities of going through mental health, depression. Right. And with that said, it was that opportunity and blessing in disguise of seeing how I had to go back into the realm of eating healthy and eating clean, and just understanding that the food is going to produce the optimal performance for my body, my mind, my soul. So I started getting my hands back into farming, into the gardening, into just eating healthy, and just really understanding that food had that really direct correlation between health and eating clean. So um, it got it was a ha moment for me when I actually seen that I had fertile mindset and positive energy and eating right to be able to tackle things in my life. And that's the same way we actually approach when we're doing farming as well. We have to have the fertile soil, right? We have to give the
Right.
nutrients and the sun and the water. So it was one of those things that gave me a real passion towards allowing people to have this opportunity to see what I see through the farming. So yeah.
Right. So, how did you make the correlation between the health and the food, specifically organic foods?
Oh man. So when my aunt passed away, um, we're Jamaican Caribbean background, and when my aunt passed away, she was that person that, she wasn't eating out of her means of all these ridiculous type of foods and process, but when I seen that I was in this down state and my energy was low, and I was eating all these fats and everything else, I started to eat a lot of greens and started to see how my mood changed and how my energy came up more, and taking care of the gut health, and be able
Hmm.
to start with that, and just seeing how it changed my mindset towards how I seen life, how I was able to now build on top of that. Honestly, it was something that really turned my life around for sure.
Wow. Okay. So, you said you came here as a child, 5 years old. I think a lot of us did. I came here pretty young as well. And where did you grow up? Where in Scarborough, in Pickering? Where?
We grew up in Jane and Shepherd's, right
James.
between Jane and Shepherd and Jane and Finch. So we right in
Okay.
between, and we were there for about 17 years, actually, 17 years.
Ah,
And it was one of those things of growing up in that area. A lot of stigma around that area is about people are always killing each other and everything else, but we're just all loving people that just want to be able to live life and enjoy each other. And
right.
I'm not saying there's no violence, but we don't bother anybody. And it was a blessing to be in that area for sure, and still is.
Okay. So you're growing up. What was your life like? It was pretty cool. You're just loving family, loving people, and you just wanted to. And you were what? Just fell in love with farming.
No, it's so with my family, we let's just put it this way. It was more about trying to survive and put food on the table. My dad, I never really he was around, but we never really had that father figure that was always mentoring, always guiding, and always being there for you in the state that you really needed to be. I had my stepmom and my aunts and my uncles that were really, uplifting and making sure that we kept our nose clean and everything is good, right? But um, I never really thought about farming more or less back then. It was just I knew my family had farming experience and generations of farming back home in Jamaica. But as I said, it was just taboo. That conversation of healthy eating and farming was never spoken about back then. It was all about technology and the trades. So I fell in love with the technology, I fell in love with the trades, and that's what I pushed myself towards. But farming kind of came back to me around 2012 when I really seen how my single parent mom back home in Jamaica, she has I'm the second oldest of eight boys that my mom has, and my mom's a super mom, and for her to be able to raise these young men, and to always try to find to put food on the table, I didn't want to see her suffer. You know what I mean?
Right.
And for me, I just know that as long as I know that she can eat, as long as we know that we are sustainable with our food and know where it's coming from, that's one of those things that no one can really take away from us. And I started sending money back home to Jamaica for my brothers to farm, to be able to raise chickens. Just make sure we knew that we could eat something at the end of the day. And for me, it was just always about wanting that desire to be more for myself and be more for my family, and just taking care of my mom and my family. And I never thought I was gonna do it here in Canada. To be honest, I really didn't. Everything was supposed to be back home, right? And
Right.
you know,
So
it
even with these cold temperatures that we we go through, it
yeah,
was still a no-brainer for you. The passion was still there,
yeah,
and you just kind of kept following that path.
100%. It was. I'm not sure if most people know the gentleman, but when I was going through my depression, um, I was working with Bell at the time, and they had a ESP program, or employee support program, and it was with that. I was going through relationship problems back in the past, and I'm always trying to please people and make sure everybody's good. But for myself, it was second nature. I wasn't really worrying about it. And so from finance to relationships to money to not taking care of me in the way it's supposed to, and then my aunt and my grandma passed away. Everything just came down on me, Chadwick. And to be
Right.
honest, I've never seen anyone talk about mental health and depression within my family to say, let's go get help, let's go do this, let's talk about it. It wasn't like that. So I had to take it upon myself to understand what was going on with me emotionally, what was going on with me spiritually. And when I started reaching out to individuals that I felt could help, that's when the conversation started to be more real. You start to see more people going through things that I'm going through, and you see people that actually overcome it. And I find for myself, I've always been a vulnerable person, always asking for help and wear my emotions on my sleeve and everything else like that. But um,
Hmm.
when I started to go to the counselor and therapist, I started to see a lot more understanding of how my childhood, like my childhood traumas and feeling abandonments and things like that, just affected how I perceive life and how things affect me. And a gentleman named Louis Marsh, I was going through his uh, uh, youth potential fathers, I believe it was called at the time, and Louis Marsh was there, and he heard my story, and he just said, honestly, I know someone you need to talk to. And it was one of those things where just opened my mouth and experience and expressing my testimony of just going through depression and going through the hardship. It
Right.
opened doors, and a lot of times as in the black community, we don't always have that helping hand to say, okay, let's talk about it. We don't always have the elders to be able to guide us properly, and that's the disconnect I've always seen with the youth and elders. There's not really much guidance anymore. So I'm just
Yeah.
really, really glad to see that I was able to come into a resources and network that way to now be able to bring this to the masses, and it's been a blessing for sure.
Well, that's great. I mean, certainly, I recognize that in our community, it's sometimes a challenge to for people to admit and for people to actually reach out for help. Um, you've seen some dreadful, examples of people who suffer in silence, and then until it's too late. So that's awesome that you're able to seek that out on your own, knowing that that you were going through something and able to dig deep enough to be able to find that the will to actually seek help elsewhere. That's phenomenal. And in that's a big part of leadership. I talk a lot about leadership and what it takes to lead in not only a community, in your family, and in a business.
Yeah,
You're a living example of all of this, and I just wanted to first of all commend you and the great job that you're doing.
thank you.
And I also wanted to find out a little bit more that in terms of being a leader, what do you see, or how do you, what is the best way that you know of to lead?
uh,
Uh,
there's this book I'm reading right now. It's called Extreme Ownership, and it gave me a different perspective how to look at life. And um, I was a person, I never blamed anyone, Chadwick. I literally, I always took the onus on myself. But the
mhm.
problem when doing that is I took it on myself, and then I started being so hard on myself to where
Right.
productivity started to go down, and where I couldn't really understand how to channel that properly. And with this book, Extreme Ownership, it teaches you the discipline to be able to look at the problem and not just look at it as a problem, but find solutions beyond the problem,
Right.
and taking ownership onto yourself, more or less find how how you could have communicated properly, how you could have, seen the other person's, being empathy, having empathy towards somebody's situation, and then finding solutions to better that outcome. And
Right.
one of those things I've seen a lot in my growth is knowing that if I'm dealing with my employee and I'm asking them to do something and I haven't communicated properly and it's not done, how could I get mad if I never actually, communicated and been clarity towards it? So that part of it, I have an ownership towards responsibility, but having the compassion and energy towards what you're doing, the belief that you understand that this is what you're going to do no matter what, even when your back is against the wall, even when things get rough, that you still focus on your why, you still focus on the opportunity to know that your life is destined for something. So how can you maneuver around it and,
Right.
yourself in the process, but also understanding that your blueprint is your blueprint, and whoever's coming in, they're supposed to help you and assist you in a way that could elevate you, and not just take bringing people in to tell you what to do, right? Um,
Fantastic.
so just some of those things
Yeah.
have been a lot that has been helping me for sure, and taking the time out, like, for me, I'm a nature guy. I love the water. I love camping. I just love those things where I could just decompress, and understand that you gotta take time for yourself, right? So
Right.
recharge and come back energized and keep going.
Yeah,
So,
that's very important. And particularly with how the world has changed and what we're going through with the pandemic, a lot of people they think, okay, I'm at home, I'm not doing anything, but they don't focus on how important it is to recharge. I always say there's two. You can be tired and overly tired, and then you just get some rest, and then you recover.
yeah,
However, exhaustion is a little bit different,
yes,
particularly in today's environment where you're missing that human contact,
yep,
which we all need to recharge. And sometimes it's not just your family alone is not enough. You
yep,
need something outside of that to stimulate and it's very difficult to accomplish that.
yep,
So yeah, I mean that's awesome that you're fully aware of it and able to get the leadership to be able to do that.
yes.
So now, tell me a little bit about the company now. How does it work, and how can our studio audience, engage and utilize your business?
Awesome. For us, so Sunny Boy Farm, we're going in our third year right now, and our second year in Pickering. And how we bring accessible and affordable foods to the community is, through our cultivation of just naturally grown, no pesticides, no herbicides, and to go as far as collaborating with local farms around, Ontario, and bringing, the competitive prices to you guys as a consumer, through weekly baskets, or we have this model called the CSA basket, so a community supported agriculture model, where you as a consumer is coming on the journey with us as a farmer, and you be able to pay up front. That allows us as a farmer to buy the seeds, the necessary tools, hire the right help, and to now produce the fresh vegetables and deliver to you locally and fresh at your front door, right? So what we ask for people in this moment is to really understand that we're doing more than just food with you guys. We're building a community. We're building an atmosphere where we're bringing the ownership back to us. We're bringing the ownership back to how you eat and cultivate with us, and to know that at the end of the day, as long as you said, have that human touch behind things, and making sure you're hearing your customers and seeing their needs. That's what we're doing over here at Sunny Boy Farm, and we're just going beyond with just the mind, body, and soul, and how we interact with the food and what it means to us. So we have our online platform. You could go on sunnyboyfarm.com. You could reach out to us on Instagram as well. But we just want you to come in, just not only to just eat, but to just build with us, and that's what we're
Right.
all.
So how have things changed from 2 years ago or last year, pre-pandemic?
Yeah.
How was business when it first got started?
Oh man. So Honestly, business for when it first started, the challenge with that was more about land and
Hmm.
having the accessibility to land, and then having capital to be able to purchase land or even use land. But again, when you start putting yourself out there to connect with people, that avenue kind of shortens itself. The gap gets shortened, and we met a family that we're renting the land with in Pickering right now, and they saw my passion, they saw what we're doing, and it just resonate with them, and the difference I've seen is just more or less, you know understanding how we could build with the criteria of receiving funding, but also long-term funding, not just a grant that's going to be here and there, but understand that we could partner with different organizations to be able to do things on a bigger mask, and be able to touch more lives. And it's I one thing I've always said to people, I've never made a roadblock ever be a challenge for me. I just walk through it, or run through it, or find a way to
There
navigate
you
around
go.
it. um,
That's phenomenal. That's what leadership is about.
I don't make excuses. I just get it done. I just
Yeah.
get it done. And one of the things when I first started, I knew I couldn't cultivate so much, so I started in my backyard. I started on my balcony, and I looked to a way that I was able to connect with different farms to supplement what we weren't actually growing, and that was something tremendous for us that we were able to do that. And because I was able to empower different farmers and farms to work with me in that atmosphere, we have seen tremendous amount of growth with families and farmers to where they just want to grow in their backyards, and that supports us how we be able to purchase fruits and vegetables from them, and be able to give it out to different families as well too. So um, you just gotta look at something different from your business side and your vision, right? You know the vision, but you just
Right.
gotta start little by little and execute it, and stay
Right.
persistent.
I can certainly attest to that. Once you, the main thing in business is you get started. And once you get started on your, and you, like you said, you keep your focus of your
Yeah,
why you're doing it. And, and you have to remain supple and flexible. So essentially things come into your way.
yeah,
Once you move one obstacle, there's going to be another obstacle, but then another light shows its way, and then you kind of move that way,
yeah,
and you kind of follow those paths with your goal in mind, and you eventually get there. So I love the vision. Oh, someone else said that. Nancy said that. Love your vision, and that's great. I mean, when I first heard, I think it's through Denise that sent me the link,
yeah,
and we heard you talking about farming and your passion for eating healthy and doing different things. We're all rushing off to the supermarket and eating all this stuff that's just feeding our bodies with garbage. And it was so refreshing to see someone that's actually taking the step to make a change, as opposed to just sitting around talking about it. The rest of us sit and complain about it, and then we spend a fortune if we want to do something about it. I
yeah,
try to live a healthy lifestyle. So we certainly jumped on board when we heard that you were offering the opportunity to get it right to our door instead of me have to go out and shop. That certainly makes it a lot easier.
yes.
But yeah, that's phenomenal, and I want to hear more of your story. So tell me about you. Are you a one man show right now?
Yes, right now is the vision is you know is coming from myself. But what I always say to anyone that comes on board is that I don't want you to come here as a job. I don't want you to come here as just an employee. You tell me what your goals are, what your visions are, and I'm gonna be able to give you as much of me to be able to accomplish that. And if it means that you're gonna have to go and build that on your own and leave us, I love that. That we're about
Mhm.
uplifting people and uplifting community. And one of the things you mentioned about is just starting. Actually, our tagline is "So to grow, it starts with you." And that was the biggest thing that I seen for myself, is that you just have to start. Just start, and
Yeah.
you figure it out. And my brother messaged me today, and he said the 5 P's. Proper planning, it brings production or something like that. But it's I'm not saying to just start with a blind outlook of things, but
No, of
knowing that
course not.
put some thought behind it, wrote it out, and seeing where you could start and just get it done, right? And you know for me right now, how I actually seen everything was that I had to start with. I didn't want to be a hypocrite to my community, honestly. And what I had to do was make sure that anything that I was preaching or putting out there, that I was actually embodying it and doing it every single day.
Right.
And so I had to build my identity. I had to get rid of my false self. I had to really get rid of my pride, my ego, the whole works, to know that anything that I'm gonna put towards them was something that I know that if it came from love, it came from the passion, and just to understand that I want to, see better for you as much as I want to see better for me. I never did anything just for myself. I've always wanted to impact everybody else. So any
Mhm.
interaction that I ever had with anybody, I always make sure that I could learn from them. I could always make sure I could add to them, and that's the approach that we take a lot over here at Sunnyboy Farms. So I don't think that it's just me as much as it's I'm farming alone and I'm doing
Yeah.
these different things. I have all these different people that have come into the seasons of my life to add to me, come in the season of my life to be able to teach me something and just be able to I could elevate from there. So we're always looking to build a team, and in order for us to really build, we want to be able to bring more capital on board and sustain that compensation for people's time. So we're definitely
See, that's the true trait of a leader is when you're obviously humble, and you don't see yourself as the leader. You see yourself as just part of that circle, part of that collaboration of people that really brings to life, and that's awesome. I think you know when I first met you and I saw what you were doing, there's a lot of integrity there, and I appreciate that. And I'm sure that anyone that uses your service, anyone that sees this program, I'm going to appeal to them now that they should really give you a call. Go on your website, check it out, order food. We all have to eat, so might as well eat healthy. The prices are much more reasonable than you would going into any of the other grocery store and trying to find foods like that. And we don't even know if it's really organic or not. So you're taking a chance there. So at least we know it's coming from hands that actually had something to do with the process. Thank you so much. So let's see if the audience have any questions for you. If guys have questions, pump them in. Someone had asked me a question for you. They asked me, well, but you came here as a small child. They asked me, what was the transition for you from Jamaica to Canada in terms of farming?
Oh man. So back in Jamaica, I've seen even the transition in Jamaica itself, and where it was all about now quick money, where things weren't actually taking their time to build and get up at 5:30 in the morning and bring the cows and goats to pasture and really take their time with the cutlass and everything else. Like I started out with just using a cutlass and I was just remembering being hands on and getting my hands in there. So when I seen the transition here, it was I was just seeing cover crops, corn and wheat and soy. I didn't really see a lot about vegetables and stuff. You found out just in the grocery stores, but then you see it slowly going up of activists and people who understand about health and bringing the priority back to healthy eating and where food comes from. Then you start seeing the conversation a little bit different, but it's still a battle. We're still going through it, and but what we're doing over at Sunnyboy Farm is that we've seen it where you know things are just different now when it comes down to how we're hands on and how we're actually adding to the earth and adding to the ecosystem instead of taking away. We really want to bring back that tradition and that slowness of life, just slowing it down and just eating with purpose and healing with purpose. Um, so it's those things that we take pride in as well, to know that we're still mastering. We're always students, we're always learning. There's different methods, especially in this time of climate and zone that we live in, but it's a matter of just adjusting with the new trend and methods and just bringing the tradition at the forefront. And that's what we're all about, just bringing the tradition and the nostalgia of how you grow with food in a community. And that's something that we take pride in. So there's been a big disconnect, but I see it coming back, and with what we're doing, we're definitely gonna bring it back even more. So, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that is awesome. I mean, what I thought about was I thought farming was a dying tradition. As you pass through southern Ontario, you can see all these former great farmlands that were just dispersed and became something else. Um, so how do you, I mean, and obviously you had a passion for it, but
Yeah.
was it scary to say, here I am going against the grain here? I'm going west, everybody else is coming east. Wasn't it a bit of a scare?
It was scary. But that's the thing that in life you gotta continue pushing no matter what when it's scary. And you know, I always it's funny to say, but I just wanted to fail. I just wanted to like see myself doing it and getting better from whatever I didn't to
Right,
actually succeed from. And I never looked at things as me failing. I always found that the beauty in everything I did. But you're so right. Like the farming is dying, and when I started out, I was going to different farms and speaking to these different farmers to use their land, and they're like, "No, we're not doing that. We're not renting to you," especially because of my skin color sometimes as well too.
mm-hmm.
In that, but I never allow that to stop me. I know that they have their own opinions, but um, I'm all about trying to allow these farmers to pass the torch. So I never stopped, being persistent, being, communicating with these farmers and understand what can we do to be able to pass the torch on to the next generations, because it's not about
Right,
us. It's about who comes after us, right? And if we're able to see that day, then that's the most beautiful thing. But we got to focus on what we could do now. So why wait till 10 years from now? So allow you to give me the energy now, give me the experience, give me the knowledge, and I'll go do something positive with it. But I want you along the journey with me. I want you to guide me and show me these things. And I've seen it just slip away much, and I don't want that to go away, because I feel like, honestly, Chad, like if you could control my food supply, you could ask me to do anything, and I don't want to be controlled. I don't want to
right.
control anybody. I just want to give people the option to be able to eat the way they want to build a lifestyle, and then build on top of that. So it's one of those things that I just want to really plead to these farmers that have all these knowledge and generation to not die with it. Pass it on to somebody. Reach out to individuals like ourselves, and be able to pass the knowledge on, right? And understand that this is something that we need for ourselves, and we need for the planet and the ecosystem itself, right? So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's great, man. I love the path that you're on.
Thank you.
So, okay, so then, what about friends and family? Were there a lot of naysayers? I'm sure the one thing I found that when you first start business, right, you
Yeah.
have people that are in your ear and they're telling you, yeah, maybe you should do this, you should do that, and then as soon as you open, they go, oh, that's a good idea. You should do this and you should do that, but they won't take the chance themselves.
Yeah, they won't. I had that so much, and I'm not gonna call names, but
Go ahead, call those days, man. Call the days.
but what I do is I love them from a distance. I love my family. I lead with love, and it hurt at the time, because you see your family as a Christian background, and people embodying things that they say that they're supposed to exude in life and amongst people. But when you don't support somebody that is trying to do something, not just for them, for the family, but for everyone in general, and to be hypocritical about that and not help and support but be negative, I got it afterwards why that is, because they're used to the security of life, and they've worked so hard and things like that. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. But when you're building something as big as you want it to be, and you can see it and fathom it, you can't have that energy around you that's going to take you down. You definitely cannot. So I had to be able to distance myself from that. I'm a family man. I love my family, but it was one of those things that I had to distance and just be able to continue to build. And I at first I started to build with the approach of proving them wrong, but
Right,
then that kind of went against me of seeing, oh, I'm not succeeding the way it's supposed to. I was supposed to be more than where I'm supposed to be at. And then when I started doing it for myself and being, me, and being authentic and just putting myself out there and understanding who my creator is, and it's getting guidance from him, and being blessed in that atmosphere to know that there's a purpose on my life, everything just kept on going up. And
right,
that's one of the things I always to say people is like, you really got to know thyself. You really got to understand your purpose. And you may not see the whole vision of what your purpose is, but just continue to focus on, that higher level of yourself and what you want to be. And just become that best version of yourself 1 second ago. And if you could do that, there's nothing going to stop you. And
You're on the right path, brother. Listen, I know what happens in those cases. I think by most part, people are conditioned by the system, right?
yes, yep,
And inherently fearful. They're fearful. They don't know how to take that next step because whether they're spiritual or religious or
yes,
Christians,
yes,
they, they truly don't have faith,
yes,
or maybe not faith in self.
that's it.
So I always say, faith is when your vision um, kind of meets the road, and then you start to put some energy into it. So you're doing something rather than just sitting around waiting for it to come to you, right?
Exactly.
So I love the process that you're taking, thinking far enough ahead that it's not just about you, because there's no failure in trying.
No.
The ones that have regrets at the end, I wish I had taken the steps, that those are the true ones. And I keep coming back to the theme of leadership and about fatherhood.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have kids.
Mhm.
Speaking of which, do you have kids?
I have my nieces, my god babies, and my godson. My godson's I look at him as my son. My family recognizes him as my son. I was there for him from day one. So I've been blessed with that opportunity to have individuals that I could raise and see them transform into something great. Um,
Right.
it's been awesome. Like even my niece is 16 years old, and she's always been around me to see that transition. And she's always like, Uncle Sunil, you always crying. You always so sensitive. What's going on? I'm like, because I just love life, and to see when she wished me a happy birthday, she was every year she gives me this speech of what I do to her, and she just gives me this accolades of what she sees from me and what life is. And to see that and to see how she's transforming and want to be better and be out there.
How
um
old is she?
she's 16.
Oh, okay.
And even my little son Jeremiah, he's one of those kids, like he's so fearless, and we have to foster those environments for them to know that anything is possible as long as you put the right energy towards it. And it's crazy to see that they see that I'm rubbing off on them. I never thought about it as that way. I'm just doing, and in the process of seeing it applied in their lives, it's just been really
Yeah.
beautiful, really
Well,
beautiful.
once you live a certain way, you'll see those examples. You become an example, right? And
Yeah.
they're gonna start to follow in your shoes. And it's the best way to lead. It's the
Yeah.
best way to learn. Also, is to teach. And you're
Exactly.
teaching right now, brother. You're rolling them out. So that's really good for you, and I appreciate what you're bringing to the table. So now, what's next for you? What's the vision for Sunny's Food?
The overall vision is to really just build the empire, hectares of land, affordable housing, be able to have the food, the accessible food, be able to build as just individuals that we're healing from our traumas, and understand the forgiveness in our lives, not only for others but for ourselves. So we're just building up a little project by projects. We're feeding families that are, low income families, or people that don't have food. That's one of our projects we're going on right now. Every week we feed a family, but we're just trying to scale it up in a bigger way. We're having a healing program that we're working on right now. As I mentioned yesterday, I was on my 40-day uh, emotional detox program, where I partner with a psychiatrist, a registered nurse and psychiatrist, where we're actually seven men are just coming together and just being vulnerable and building with each other and going through that stage of experiencing each other's you know lived experience and be able to grow. And that's one of the things I've seen myself as on this journey. I didn't have much of individuals and friends that was going on that journey with me, especially the spiritual journey. And to have the opportunity to be with this group of men and to grow and foster an environment of trust and understanding and just no judgment. That's what we
Mhm.
want in the community that we're building, is to just be happy and just be on that journey of peace and love and to always choose love over hate and fear. And every interaction is just the interaction of just building somebody else and never taking them down. So we're just taking it one step at a time. And one of the things I've learned is to be patient. And as much as I see it now, we gotta be patient and really build the right way. And we always ask for people to understand, it's like we're humans always, right? But we're a spiritual being. But as long as that you're able to be transparent with me, but somebody transparent with you. If I'm doing
Right.
something wrong, you didn't like it, just approach me with manners and respect, and I will do the same. And be able to just get the feedback and pivot where we need to pivot, and just meet you guys' needs and really be out there. We're tackling program with youth and senior programs. Oh man, it's a lot, but
Wow, you got a lot going on. So how do you manage all this and still find time to like you say to manage self and to recharge and to do all that? What do you do for fun outside of when you're not farming and you're
yeah,
not building that empire? What
yeah.
do you do?
Oh man,
I
so
mean, during COVID anyway, it's a little tough.
yes. No, for me it's the family. They recharge me. My nieces, my little son, be able to read books and listen to music and things like that. Just recharging myself and going for walks. And I love the long drives. Going driving up to the cities and other city and going to the rural areas, seeing the greenery, just being by the lake, things like that. But I always find that I always have find the energy every single day. And one of the things that a good friend of mine, Linda, she's a personal development and my marketing coach right now. And she taught me something where it's like you wake up in the morning and you don't want to get up, you don't want to do anything. But as long as you could change your physiology, you start punching the air, you start getting up. Your body has no reason other than to change the state that it's in. And then you start changing your mindset towards the problem or challenge. It's something that was negative, you change it to something positive. And now you start bringing the focus and energy towards it, and bringing a new meaning to what you thought was going to keep you down. So for me, anytime I'm human, I still feel times I don't want to get up. But the moment I understand what I'm building and I could change my emotional state like this, I'm pumped up. I'm just ready to go. And I could go to bed at 3 o'clock and wake up an hour later and still going. But it's just as you said, taking that energy to be able to eat right, take the time for yourself, acknowledge your mindset, be able to stop and recognize the triggers or when you're going to feel depressed or anxiety or anything else, and just be gentle with yourself. Those are the things that I've always been practicing and coping. And I've always vowed never to go back into the depressive state. So it's just been amazing to be able to cope with it and maintain it and overcome it. And I just want to be able to add that to everybody else for sure.
Right. As Maxine just said, mindset is everything, and that's absolutely right.
Yes.
Yeah, if you get up and you're feeling defeated,
Yeah.
I did a little video on that the other day, talking about when you're not in your when you're not feeling motivated, not feeling inspired,
Yeah.
and some of the things that you mentioned, it's certainly I find getting in touch with nature
Yeah.
is a way to kind of open up your juices. It also helps to do some kind of yoga or some kind of breathing. It helps to do something for someone else,
Yes.
because sometimes we're trying to be so focused on us,
Yes.
then it makes us a little bit overwhelming. May
Yeah.
become a little bit overwhelming, right? So that's why sometimes you focus on someone else, try to give a helping hand. You'll see that that energy and the inspiration start to come back into you. And
Agreed.
there's a few other tips that certainly people can use to kind of get back inspired, get motivated, and just
Yes.
get out and do things as opposed to sitting around waiting for it. Yeah, COVID has kind of made us a little bit stagnant.
One of the things that helped me was I had a personal development a program I did last year with Noel, and that was a breakthrough moment. And he said to me, he had this activity where it's you're buying back your hours. Basically, we all have 168 hours in the week, right? So as long as you could be unbiased and put all your activities what you normally do, and then take that with a new approach of filling each hour, half an hour, whatever the case may be, with something productive, and seeing where your time is gone. That is something
Mhm.
that helped me a lot. And being able to connect with individuals that I could speak to that are not biased about the situation, and to be able to know that they're listening here. That is something that would work a lot for me, to be able to talk to somebody and not feel that they're going to judge me or put me down. So for sure, everything you've said and many other things is, it's there's a lot out there. You just got to find what works for you, and yeah,
Right.
and get out of your head. For me, I was always in my head, so get out of your head.
Yeah, yeah. Managing, I guess it's part of managing the emotions and managing what's going on up in here
Yeah,
is two different things, right? And people have to learn to when to separate, when to kind of pull themselves back and say it's just emotions as opposed to that's truly what's happening. And when
exactly.
you're able to do that, control the subconscious mind because the subconscious mind will run away with itself.
Yes.
So staying calm and being able to tell, that's I guess that's what they call emotional intelligence is the ability to let separate. Do not let the subconscious mind just run off and do things with the conscious mind, right?
Yes. Yes. No, you
So
said that.
brilliant, man. I'm glad you're doing it. I think we're almost done for today. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the audience? Is there anything that you'd like people to know about Sonny?
Oh man, not much. Just I'm always gonna deal with you guys in a respectful way. I'm always gonna be able to, try to meet you guys' needs. But all I ask is to just step out and take that chance to, you know, be your better self and understand what you're going for it. And if it means that you want to build with us, we welcome it. But we just want you to just heal. We really just want the healing. Like just even speaking about it, it gets me emotional about it because I've seen how single parents and single moms and individuals that are trying to do things that they just get taken down from the past trauma and the hurt and the emotional state that they're in. And we don't want that. And we just encourage people to be aware of their triggers, be aware of what is bothering them, and just find a way to elevate yourself beyond that, and just reach out for help. Be vulnerable enough to ask for help. And you know
Yeah.
we 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 just want people to heal. Just heal. you know Choose the
Through
right.
your discovery process, were you able to isolate those traumas yourself, or was it the counselors that were able to guide that?
um so there's a gentleman, the last counselor that I dealt with. He was so like raw with it. um he made me look at myself more in the mirror than actually seeing things, um like just out there. Like I had to look into me. And one of the things I do every morning is I go in the mirror and I look at myself, and I talk the truth, and I see the thoughts that come to me. And I just change it. I'm like, no, you're love, you're patient, you're understanding, you're all these good things. And it
Affirmations.
affirmations. And it may not always have the truth of it right away, but the more you start speaking it, the more subconsciously you have to reprogram yourself to it. But I had to open the floodgates. I had to go back into a lot of things that made
Mhm.
me um, you know sh- close off things in a different way. There was this book I first read. It was No More Mr. Nice Guy. And it actually depicts your life of showing you how if you're abandoned in a certain way or hurt in a certain way, it shows you the results of those things. And when I read that book and did the activity, it made me understand that there was some traumas in the past that I had to deal with from the childhood. And I was on the program with the man yesterday, and she said that there's three timelines from your children, your teens, and adults. And if you go back to those each years and to see different traumas or even anything that was happening, you're able to isolate that. And one of my aha moment again last night, because you're always healing, was when my aunt passed away. I thought I dealt with it, um, but I have to write a forgiveness letter this week, and forgive myself as well too. But I had to do the work. It really starts with you. Nobody else could actually do the work
Right.
for you. They could guide you, but the hard work and everything else, it really comes back down on you. So I advise anyone that's going through it, if you can't deal with all at once, just open one floodgate first, deal with that, and then add on to it. But you got to do the work. You really have to do the work.
Right.
Don't rush it. Take your time, and be gentle with yourself in the process. Don't live in the pain, the regrets, the shame, all those things. You're just gonna hold yourself down. It's either you want to be happy or you want to be in pain, and I choose happiness. So I advise everyone to choose happiness as well too.
That's great. Great. That, I mean, that's valuable information. I think from anyone out there that's, maybe going through some things, or may have suffered some trauma earlier in their lives. They want to be able to find that, and you're able to navigate your way through all that and become the leader you are today. That you're not only an entrepreneur, but running a business that's moving towards ultimate success, and you still have the vision and the guide and the passion to push it. That's great. And I'm sure that, anyone that's listening today, they must feel you. They know, they must know what you've, the trails that you've come so far, and that there's much more to come. And we look forward to having you again, on the show, sometime down the road, to see how you're doing. And hopefully this is post pandemic, and we can all get together in the studio and talk a little, maybe bring on some of your sunny juice.
Coming. Oh my gosh, stop it. You can't tell him. It's coming. It's coming.
And then we can do that. But thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been great having you, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay. So my audience, thank you so much for joining me tonight. As you can see, someone as humble and as great a leader. In my special building up to Father's Day, I'm looking for great people. I know we do have a few guests for so far already committed, but if you think that there's somebody out there that you thought it's a great leader, great father, would be a great example for our studio audience, certainly I'd be willing to listen to you, hear them talk, hear them tell their story, listen a little bit about their vision and how they've come through it, and bring them to the point they are today. Thank you so much again for joining me. If you have any questions, concerns, please feel free to drop me a line at ChedTalks or at chedbookc@gmail.com, or any of my other information. Thanks again for joining me, and we'll see you again next time on ChedTalks.